Legislation that could limit the amount of money cities can collect from traffic tickets just passed a critical step.
Well, the bill was filed in direct response to an Atlanta News First investigative series, Taxation Through Citation, which uncovered cities accused of using their police departments for profit. Atlanta News First investigative reporter Andy Parati is live at 5 from the state capitol. Andy, break down what happened this afternoon for us.
Hey, ladies, today is the first of likely many debates involving this proposed legislation titled the No Taxation Through Citation Bill Act. And if passed, it would cap the amount of revenue cities can collect from fines and forfeitures to just 10% of their budgets. Revenue collected above that threshold would be sent to a state fund, likely for public safety purposes. Representative Joseph Gullett filed the legislation. He presented it to members of the State and Government Subcommittee today. The Paulding County Republican emphasized that this bill does not prevent police from writing tickets, but does provide less financial incentives for cities that overly rely on officers to generate money. His bill is in direct response to a series of Atlanta News First investigations, which uncovered cities relying on 40, 50, sometimes 70% of their annual budgets from fines and forfeitures.
Well, I think people do feel like certain towns where they got pulled over, it's not because they were speeding, but it's because that town is using it as revenue generation.
This does not change how law enforcement does their job. And that's really key important if you're concerned about public safety, as I am, that you understand that this is about fairness and also about due process.
Now, the Georgia Association or Municipal Association also spoke in favor of this proposed legislation, but they asked Representative Gullett to make multiple changes, including increasing that cap from 10% to 25%. The association says as many as 37 cities in Georgia in 2023 relied on 10% or more of their budgets from fines and forfeitures. It passed the subcommittee today. It moves on to a full committee tomorrow. We'll keep you posted. Live at the state capitol, I'm Andy Parati. Atlanta News First investigates.
Andy, thank you for bringing all of this to light.